I'm going to start off and ask, what were you thinking when you decided to kill off one of your major villains in your very first season?
Honestly, in general, I think we did a lot of things that, throughout like the whole first season, we did a lot of things that you would never think we would do. And you would never think we would do it as soon as we did it. Like, that's sort of our raison d'etre, like our sort of methodology. It's like, let's surprise the audience at every turn. Like, I think no one expected us to kill off Tommy. So, some things, some things are then twistable, and you can undo certain things. Other things are just exist as their own standalone surprises. And it's fun for us to go. We always said we would just burn through story. We wouldn't be precious and say, oh, we're saving this character this moment for season 5. We're like, if we have the idea and we're going to do it, let's do it now. Let's not wait. We'll solve season 5 when we get to season 5.
And we also wanted season 1 to feel like a complete meal.
Yeah.
We're all very taken with the way Joss Whedon ran Buffy and Angel, where those shows had a big bad for the season and it came to a conclusion, and so that while there's a lot of carryover from season 1 into season 2, it doesn't feel like a new show where we're continuing the threads. Season 2 has its own feel, its own villains, and its own overall structure.
Speaking of that, what can you say about what's coming in season 2 as opposed to season 1?
Absolutely nothing. No. What can we say? We can say that it's really this season is really about Oliver's evolution from being the Arrow to being the Green Arrow. He really sets out in episode 201 saying, I don't want to be the vigilante anymore. I don't want to be called the Hood. If I'm going to do this, it needs to be about something more than just crossing names off a list. I realize now I need to be a hero, which is something that he was constantly struggling with last season, and this season he's really going to set that out as his main course, and then discover that it's not as easy as it seems.
The original draft of that scene actually was, Oliver says, I don't want to be the vigilante anymore, and Diggs says, well, what do you want to be called? And Oliver says, Superman. He's like, taken. Batman, taken. Green Lantern, taken. He's like, God damn it, I thought this year wasn't about crossing names off the list. All you do is crossing names off.
I could have printed you that already.
Andrew rewrote me on that. I got it on video. It's awesome.
What can you tell us about the character that Katie Lotz is playing?
We can't tell you much. We can say that she's, Katie. First of all, Katie is a tremendously talented actress that we're all really excited about. Adding to our ensemble. But we're really this is really the beginning of the Black Canary story, and it's something that we've done all of last season. The first Green Arrow that we met wasn't Oliver. If you think about it on the island, it was Yao Fei. And the first Deathstroke that we met wasn't Slade Wilson. And the first Merlin that we met turned out to not be the actual Merlin the Archer. So all we're really doing with Katie's character is really beginning the story of the Black Canary in a way that I think people might not be expecting based on the way the comic books go, but we'll see how there's been a method to our madness, and it seems to have pleased people so far, and we hope people continue to go on the ride with us, because it's a great storyline. There are great twists to it, and it's going to have a tremendous impact on Katie Cassidy's character this season.
You're not obligated to stick to the comic book, but is there a stretching point where you fear that the fans or kind of the cognoscenti will turn on you?
Not with this character. I mean, if it was, we've always said actually, if this was Batman or Superman with a very specific, canon, like Superman, Clark Kent needs to work at the Daily Planet. Green Arrow, it doesn't have a canon that's quite as precious, and I think the cognoscenti, as you put it, aren't as precious. Like, we already came out of the gate with, we gave him a sister, we made his mother alive and not dead. Like, we've always sort of done that with this character, and we've always sort of had the philosophy that this character could allow it in a way that, Batman and Superman, can't sustain that. So we're not particularly worried. I also think we've, hopefully we've earned some goodwill.
We also, if you look at The Dark Knight Rises, John Blake is not a name that anybody had ever heard of, and now he's, Robin, and I think that, part of the fun of that was if he'd been named Officer Dick Grayson, everyone who was a comic book fan would have been sitting there going, oh, okay, so he's gonna be Robin, and you'd ruin the surprise. surprise. And for us, there's always two sets of fans for the show. There's the people who don't read the comics, who you have to entertain, who are surprised by the twists and turns anyway. But we also feel an obligation to, surprise the people who do know the stuff, and which is why I love the twist with Merlin, which is why we had, Faye, which is why, as soon as everyone saw Deathstroke, they just assumed it was Slade Wilson. So that was a fun surprise when you met Slade Wilson, and he's a good guy and he's a hero. Because we grew up comic book fans. I mean, we live and breathe this stuff. So these are the things that give us chills and make us surprised. And hopefully, people will see that, seeing some of these changes to the canon, they're not being made for arbitrary reasons. They're being made to keep the storyline fresh and exciting, and give everybody essentially what they desire.
Will you be showing the immediate aftermath of the destruction of the Glades, like Dingle on the roof Roy, what he was doing, or are you just jumping forward?
We're just jumping forward. If you want to see the moments directly after, there's basically 3 comic book chapters that we did that sort of bridge stuff. And actually, you'll see like those first 2 chapters that were like a sort of a 2-parter really tee up where we're headed in the beginning of season 1, and then TV Guide just published basically Tommy's funeral. So we may eventually go back. We do flashbacks on the show, and with episode 21 we started not limiting ourselves to flashbacks to the island. So
you'll actually see some glimpses in episode 2
That's right.
of a different perspective on what you saw in the finale, which is kind of fun and interesting. But the show picks up 5 months later. For everyone, both in the present day and on the island. So it's really more about seeing not the immediate reaction to it, but the repercussions of it, and see how it affected everybody's lives and where everyone is. Some people exactly where you expect them, and other people in some very surprising places.
Just speaking of the comic book, are we going to see any villains or not from the comic book in season 2? Can you tease us with a little bit of that?
Yeah, we actually have a team up in episode 2 between a villain from season 1 and a brand new DC Comics villain, who you'll hear about today. Which you'll hear about today, which we're excited about.
Yeah, so it'll be very, very cool. And we always like to bring the characters and villains from the comics, and even like Summer Glau's character Isabel Rocha is from the comics. So we'll keep doing that.